So what I'm going to talk about is a dematerialization, a breakthrough in the denial of the constructs that have denied freedom up to this point, and how this declaring of this holiday is giving voice to that which has been long denied, this freedom. And we'll see in a moment that it is the sign of Taurus that rules the voice, the throat, and how this breakthrough, there can be a numbing of emotions, which happens in this separative consciousness, this just denying anything but one's own self-interest, and being numb and oblivious to everything else. And then, so there's a numbing on the emotional level, and then there is the denial on the mental level of what are truths, denial of truth. So this, these eclipses that I'm getting ready to talk about really have represented a crisis in values. And we began this eclipse in the lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, and that was May 26th. And the sign of Scorpio dredges up the gunk or the grit, and the work of Scorpio is to redeem into the light. So something got really stirred at this lunar eclipse, and I'll point out what that looks like in a moment. And then in this solar eclipse, and the sign where the sun and the moon are in conjunction of Taurus, we have this new seeding, this seeding or seeing taking place, a new awareness. Now, some might say, well, it's a step, it's not that meaningful in regard to reparations and all the harm done. We shouldn't get too excited about this. But when we look at the cosmic assistance that has been coming, and more to come, and in shorter intervals of time, it affirms that we are in this shift into a re-spiritualization cycle. Hotep, and greetings, family. Welcome to Building the Lighted Temple Wisdom Service. And once again, I am very delighted to see everyone here this morning. Let me just take a quick peek at, as people are arriving. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so we are going to get started here. So for anyone who is new, and for the purpose of the recording, I am Dr. Nteri Nelson, a metaphysician, a clinician, and educator, and co-founder of the Academy of Kemetic Education and Wellness. And each week, beloveds, we have been building the lighted temple and understanding that we are arriving or immersing ourselves within these primal waters of noon. We are immersing ourselves in the spiritual waters of re-ascension that are bathing our earth. And we are coming together in this unified collective consciousness to do the work of raising our vibration, amplifying our light, and being distributors of light out into the world. So just to outline today, and we are going to talk about things happening on our planet, foremost of which has been Juneteenth, the celebrations, all the wonderful celebrations that have been taking place. And we're going to talk about some things cosmically that have been informing the events that we see. We're going to touch upon the lunar eclipse that happened May 26th with the moon in Scorpio. And then we're going to talk briefly about the solar eclipse that happened on June 10th with the sun and moon conjunction in Taurus. And then we're going to talk briefly about the summer solstice, which is happening today, even as we speak. Later on this evening, we'll herald that solstice. We're going to honor today is likewise Father's Day, and honor all the fathers, and foremost of which is Osir, our divine Father within, as we understand our divine trinity of Osir, Oset, and Haru. And we'll do a reading from the Pertim Ru, and we'll look at application in daily living. So as we begin in talking about Juneteenth, you know, we as an African people, we embraced and we have given the world these universal laws of Ma'at, where to live in accord with right relationship with every kingdom on earth. And we have informed the world that all life matters. And yet, as we made our outgoing footsteps out of Africa to populate the world, into these seeming racial types that would emerge, we would undergo this separative consciousness, or this unfoldment of separative consciousness on our planet, out of which has been birthed this white supremacy. And that separative consciousness asserts that only I matter. And when a separative consciousness asserts that only I matter, we have had to do the absurd, which now is assert that Black life matters. And what makes that absurd in the scheme of things, in this universal consciousness, is that all life matters. And so to say that Black life matters is to say that you know, trees matter, the ocean matters, the whales matter. We're in this seeming absurdity of having to state in universal consciousness a truth and a given. So with that said, family, as we build a lighted temple in the midst of this separative consciousness, this is a separative consciousness, a white supremacist consciousness that has and will burn our stuff down, as we have been witnessing, especially with the 100th anniversary of the burning of Tulsa in Black Wall Street. So we understand how we are moving through times that are perilous and on the way to being more propitious or favorable, how we are moving from this material consciousness into a re-spiritualization cycle, and the clash of these contending forces now. And that we want to understand planes of consciousness in which we are building both materially and spiritually. And in the words of Frederick Douglass, we hold an awareness that all this time we have been striving for excellence. And in the words of Frederick Douglass, that striving has meant struggle. And in his words, he says, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder, and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. So we live with, in finding this balance and the discord that comes with Isfet, which our African ancestors call Isfet, or that imbalance or wrongdoing or misappropriation of energy, as we work with trying to manifest and live in accord with the laws of Ma'at. And we family know that we are very engaged in this battle of Haru and Set, and that a balance must be maintained in these forces. So that brings us to June 19th, I think. So let me go back here. So Juneteenth, someone says, oh, let me just see what she says here. It's been a minute. She says, let me see the chat. She says hi. Okay, it's wonderful. It's what a beautiful soul. All of you are beautiful souls. She's just a beautiful soul that has joined us today. Okay. All right. So Juneteenth. So yesterday marked this day, June, in celebration or commemoration of June 19th, 1865, when enslaved Americans in Galveston, Texas, learned they were free. 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation took effect, that then President Abraham Lincoln delivered in 1862, which officially outlawed slavery in Texas and in all other states of the original Confederacy. And so this Juneteenth is the commemoration of that moment in 1865, when this announcement, it's called General Order Number 3, is given by Union Army General Gordon Granger, proclaiming and enforcing freedom of enslaved people in Texas, which was the last state of the Confederacy with institutional slavery. And maybe many of you are already familiar with what that pronouncement was, but he just says, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves. And the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. So, as we are here in our work of building the lighted temple, the struggles that this work entails, and now, so the day has been this day has been recognized as a federal holiday, June 17th, by our current president, Joe Biden, as many of you already know. And so, family, let us reflect on this act of declaring this federal holiday, a day that marks where freedom, liberty, life, pursuit of happiness had been denied during enslavement, and where denial continued 2.5 more years, family. and where denial continues to the present day as this illusory or this seeming restoration of freedom that we know in our walk can be snatched at any moment, while driving, while jogging, while walking along. And because we live, as we are aware, in times that are perilous and times that are propitious. And we are in this dimensional shift. And we live in a time where we have to be optimistically cautious, as that shift from perilous to more favorable times is dawning. And we are cautioned because we know that Isfet seeks to regather itself, and it seeks to regather itself in this materialization cycle where white supremacy has reigned. It has will seek to truncate our vision over and over again. Will seek to put us back in that ever narrowing ring that is, or cycle that is closing, and denying us our fuller Osirianization in identification. So we labor more, we labor now. So what I'm going to talk about is a dematerialization, a breakthrough in the denial of the constructs that have denied freedom up to this point, and how this declaring of this holiday is giving voice to that which has been long denied, this freedom. And we'll see in a moment that it is the sign of Taurus that rules the voice, the throat, and how this breakthrough, there can be a numbing of emotions, which happens in this separative consciousness, this just denying anything but one's own self-interest, and being numb and oblivious to everything else. And then, so there's a numbing on the emotional level, and then there is the denial on the mental level of what are truths, denial of truth. So this, these eclipses that I'm getting ready to talk about really have represented a crisis in values. And we began this eclipse in the lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, and that was May 26th. And the sign of Scorpio dredges up the gunk or the grit, and the work of Scorpio is to redeem into the light. So something got really stirred at this lunar eclipse, and I'll point out what that looks like in a moment. And then in this solar eclipse, and the sign where the sun and the moon are in conjunction of Taurus, we have this new seeding, this seeding or seeing taking place, a new awareness. Now, some might say, well, it's a step, it's not that meaningful in regard to reparations and all the harm done. We shouldn't get too excited about this. But when we look at the cosmic assistance that has been coming, and more to come, and in shorter intervals of time, it affirms that we are in this shift into a re-spiritualization cycle. So what does this look like? And in this new seeding taking place in Taurus, we are talking about the eye of the bull. The symbol in Taurus is the eye is the bull. And in these eclipses, shards of light coming in can actually be shafts of light, where we're able to see, or humanity sees on a higher plane, or higher plane living corridors. Even just like as lightning goes across the sky, you see the sky light up, but then when lightning flash stops, the sky darkens again. But you saw something. And so these eclipses are creating movement, and to those higher plane living corridors before they seemingly snap shut again. And it's, we get the celebration, and everybody's celebrating, and the next moment there's a shooting. And this is part of where we are in this arduous uphill climb in the re-spiritualization. We're going to have days that are just seem like we're making progress and moving in that greater light, only to be followed by another dark day. And that's what this shift is about. It's not so unlike the shift that happens as we move from winter to spring. We have the cold of the winter, and then we have a brighter day, and more, and we feel like we can wear a little less clothing, and only to be followed again by more snowfall and more cold. So on a grander scale, we are making that shift. So do not be discouraged by those the coarse patches that still happen as we make this shift, because we're not through yet. But in this shift, I want to show you first of all, and I'm just going to hold up because I don't want to move around too much with the PowerPoint. But here we are looking at a full moon in a sun-moon cycle. All right, and we've been learning in our work about Ka'aba, and we can see here that Ka, as we have learned, Ka has its correspondence with Aset, Ab has its correspondence with Haru, and Ba has its correspondence with Asur. And Ka has its correspondence with the moon. So Ka, moon, Aset. Ab has its correspondence with the earth, and Haru. And if you just for a moment dispel this word earth, we know that we can see, if we dispel this word, that earth is hot. You just change these words around, put them in a circle, and you can see hot. So this, as we have learned, is Ba is Asur, Ab is Haru, and Ka, 1 inch below the navel, is Aset. So then we have Ba, which is the sun, which has its correspondence with Asur. So one more time: Ka, moon, Aset; Ab, earth, Haru; Ba, sun, Asur. And we've also done in one Sunday service the sounding the Om, the AUM, that the A is with Ba, U is with Ab, and M is with Ka. So when we sound the Om, we are invoking this divine Trinity within us. This divine Trinity is not outside of us, it's within us. So what does all that mean? So I pointed that out, but let's look at this a moment. I hope everybody can see that, and if you can't, you'll let me know in the chat. Okay, all right, so what happened in May in our lunar eclipse? We had this alignment of the sun, the earth, and the moon, or otherwise said, Asur, Haru, which is the sun daughter within, and Aset, or Ba, Ab, and Ka. So they were in 180 degrees separation. And the moon was in, as I said, in Scorpio. And so something gets seen here because this is the Ab, the consciousness. Something gets seen in this planetary consciousness. Something gets dredged up, the gunk, that which needs redeeming in the lunar eclipse. And then move to the solar eclipse, which happened June 10th, just about the eve of all of this commemoration of Juneteenth and making it a federal holiday. And so here we have the conjunction of the sun and the moon. What we have here is Asur and Aset in embrace, the sun and the moon in embrace, and Heru is watching this embrace, but there is a seeding going on. And when you look at that word and dispel that word, it's a seeding, like when you have that masculine, feminine energy coming together, there is a seeding, something new, and then there's a seeing taking place. So be sure to put your questions if you have them. So what more needs to be said here? So let's look at Taurus, because Taurus is the sign of the bull, or it's also the bull or the cow symbolism. And Taurus energy is what we possess, what we have, what we own, our economy. It is, and what we own gives us that stability, as in like the jet pillar and stability. The planetary ruler of Taurus is Venus, and so this combination of Taurus and Venus is the appreciation of what we love, of what we value, and what we value materially and spiritually, what we possess. It's about what we desire, and it's about how we aspire. And within any sign, we have to look at the strengths and the weaknesses of Taurus operating on a higher turn of the spiral in terms of its strengths, and working on a lower turn of the spiral. So on a higher turn of the spiral, this is that groundedness, that strong sense of value, what we value. It's also the drive toward illumination, because we can value something on this level, and then as we harness the fire within, we are moved to greater levels of illumination, greater levels of light, increasing expanse of awareness of what is of value. And so it is not only that material, but it moves us into the spiritual. It can also be reflected on a lower level where we're focused on possessing and desiring at a lower level. And the nature that has correspondence with Taurus is Het Haru. And I want to just show you this Kemetic, our image of Nteri. this is the Hetero cows. And this is the bull. We are the bull. You see it throughout the Pertembru, references to the bull. We are the bull of heaven. And we are making our ascent through these arits, or through these planes of consciousness, which our African ancestors teach us about. They teach us about the plane of consciousness of Kat, Ka, Kabat, Sahu, Ab, Shechem, Ku, and Ba. So how are we moving? How are we ascending? And it is through these Heteru cows that we may move from, like an elevator ride, we move from one plane of a more material plane of consciousness to a more spiritual plane of consciousness. And so how does this all tie together when we've been under a white supremacist paradigm, and us wanting to move to a place of to define higher ground, to have a place of peace, to have a place of plenty, and this eclipse has taken place here, has given, in my estimation, and you could talk about humanity as a whole, because it is the planetary heart that is being weighed now on the scales of my art. It is about the collective consciousness and what we have done, but it is also you know, how we are been able to move past these chains of enslavement on the physical body, that which would chain the emotional body, that which would chain the mental body. And there is something in that collective consciousness, especially here in America, where something shifted. We want to honor that shift, see that shift as an evidence. Now, is it long overdue? Of course. And someone has a question here. Let me just see. Okay, so she says, can you list again the levels of planes of consciousness? Sure. I'll hold that back up. All right, so we have starting with the more material level, because these levels here are where we are really fashioning our instrument, the Ka, Kabat, the Sahu. This is the character, or where we are building that temple in its more form aspect. But it isn't until we get to these higher planes, the Ab, the Shechem, the Ku, the Ba, because and these have their correspondence with the chakras. So it is, as I have said before, a lot of humanity is living below if this is the heart, a lot of humanity is polarized below the diaphragm in terms of its awareness, in terms of how it's harnessing the fire, and in terms of what it thinks is of value, that subscription to this materialization in consciousness cycle paradigm of what's of value. But because when we move above the diaphragm into this Ab triangle, which is Haru, we are developing that conscience and consciousness. We are becoming more universal. And so we labor and we struggle with how to indwell these higher planes of consciousness while undergoing these assaults. I mean, imagine the assaults of, you know, losing one's home, being in poverty, not being able to feed ourselves, not being able to educate ourselves, and then moving, like as in Black Wall Street, only to have that bombed and dissipated. Now the thing though is that if we are building that lighted temple, because it is only here when we are bringing our awareness to these levels of consciousness that we are able to light this temple. We don't want to just build a house, we want it to have light. So when we move to these realms of consciousness, even if we just touch those realms of consciousness, and why would our African ancestors of the Nile Valley give us those realms if we were not able to indwell them? Why would they teach us about them? It's more than just meeting our bread and butter needs. We do need to do that. And in so many instances, we are suffering abysmally, even in meeting those bread and butter needs. So our work is to see the way to keep refining that which is of value and not get crushed and collapsed into what this paradigm, this material paradigm in consciousness would say is of value. Let's talk about you know, because it is that Taurian energy, we can't move through these arits unless we are harnessing the fire that begins at the base of the spine in our base chakra, and we're harnessing that fire that we are able to ascend to these higher planes of consciousness. So when we want to really understand what freedom is and what being bound or binded is, and then what our struggle is to free ourselves from that which would bind us. You know, I mean, one could be in prison and have the body bound, but be very free in their mind because they are indwelling and having livingness on these other realms, and holding an awareness of what is happening in the physical form and its captivity, but not succumbing to being collapsed in their consciousness as to what they're temporarily experiencing. So it is this Taurian energy and this aspiration, because there's desire and then there is to aspire, and that aspiring leads us to ascend to in the highest chakras. That aspiring enables us to glimpse that greater wholeness, a greater light, and you know, certainly Taurus and Heteru bring in the imagination and give us that glimpse into that inner patterning of greater wholeness and possibility. Okay, now let me just see here. So then where are we today? We are with the summer solstice, June 20th. And so what is the summer solstice? Well, all this light is happening now because between the eclipses and between the summer solstice, at the summer solstice, we are experiencing the sun at its greatest ascent in the sky, that it's at its zenith, that it's reached the highest point in the sky. And it's casting the greatest light on what is valued. So I would ask each one of you, family and beloved, what is valued? What is of value? And do you think or feel or sense that the human family, and particularly in America, there is that of the population? I know all this Trumpism thing is going on where people are just in their own worlds about and distortion of facts, and getting further and further and going more and more down a rabbit hole around what is true, further and further away from Ma'at. But family, do you sense that something clicked, because when those shards of light come, and there is that awakening in consciousness, that shard of light, or that shaft of light, can show a way, even if it snaps shut again and we're back on this material with shootings and police brutality and the shutting down of voting rights, because that's still alive and well. I want you to notice, do not poo-poo what has happened. That's what this is about today. Just don't, if we don't see the signs and notice the signs and open more and more to them, then it can feel like whatever gesture comes is it's not the 40 acres in the mule, but it is the recognition that not only that the 2.5 years passed where African American people were still enslaved, but right in back of that is the recognition of enslavement itself. And that is a step for this separative consciousness. All right, let me see, we have a question. Thanks for your insight. Is there any way to enhance the energy from today's solstice? Yes, really resonating and with this light. And I'm going to read something from the Pertimru on the rising of Ra. I mean, because as we've been learning, all our African ancestors teach us that they lived a life in accord with the journeying and the patterning of Ra. There's a patterning of life after the sun Ra. And we know on the cosmic level of the universal Ra, actually, let me, because that really speaks to that. I'll have to shift my screen in a minute. I'm going to answer that question further, and I pull up the Pertimru and read from that for today. Let me just look at this other question first. But to really honor the full bathing and basking in this light and illumination that we have reached this apex, this and to be, exhilarated by and invigorated by and encouraged by the full glory and expression that the sun, who we are the same sun, we are the same stellar substance as the sun that we saw on our local horizon. We are the same stellar substance. So we too, in this passage of the sun, are the ever coming one. We are the Nehehe. We are eternal. We are forever and ever. Let me just see this next question here. I feel I'm in a crush and collapse. Learning the details of our inevitable climate change that is coming sooner than later. The plans of the rich to bring back slavery when currency collapses, per Dr. Nzinga Dalila. The current pandemic and the manipulation we are under currently and how it is being used to take away freedoms we believed we had. I can't see the purpose to create healing classes. I'm in a place of hopelessness with it all. And that is exactly, that narrow middle passage as we make this transition, this dimensional shift, that is and will be a recurring feeling like, what's the use? You say, I can't see the purpose of creating healing classes. I'm in a place of hopelessness with it all. This is why it's so important to understand cycles of time and to know what time it is, and to know that, I just did something here. Let me close this. To know that it's a wrap. It's just persevere. It is a wrap. We can't lose. That's right. We can't lose. It's a wrap. It's a done deal. This materialization and consciousness, this white supremacy, has this fiery breathing dragon I've been talking about for 20 years, has been dealt a death blow. And what we are seeing is the writhing. This is why it is perilous. It is writhing. It doesn't want to die. It doesn't want to, and it's in pain. It's agonizing. It's trying to, regather itself. And what I caution is that it's not just the fire from that breathing dragon that we have to watch out for, but moreover, it's the tail now that will whip around in the closing of this cycle and take as many folks with it, and anything in the planet, animals, trees, nothing is exempt. Anything that can be consumed will be consumed. I once learned and heard in my metaphysical studies about, let me see if I can quote it exactly, how we sometimes think that you have a day when you think you've heard the worst, and it couldn't get any worse, and then something tops that isfet, that evil, that misappropriation of energy just couldn't get any worse, and that it does. And so there was this that I heard or heard expressed, where there is that degree of evil that would blow up the earth, that would destroy it, and see it floating as a wreck on a raft. I mean, can you imagine that? consciousness. You don't even want to take yourself there. But there is, so we are in now, understand when you incarnated, and we are Ani. Remember, we talking about Ani now, because we're going into the hall of Amenta before the scales of Ma'at. And what is it Ani? As we are Ani, we have to have demonstration that we've done our life work and purpose, that we've been in accord with the laws of Ma'at. We've been Shemsu Haru, we've been followers of Haru, the Haru within us that brings us to ourselves. The only thing we lose is our ego. Yes, yes. And so, but in addition to the things that Ani is demonstrating to be found Ma'akaru, which is voice, true voice, as in the Taurus rules the voice. What have we said? What have we called forth? What have we done? What have we invoked? In addition to those things that Ani has demonstrated, we have incarnated in these times, so which are not for the faint of heart. And if you're here, you've had rehearsal in other lifetimes. You're here because you're supposed to be here, because you have work to do. And that, the ferocity with which this material consciousness, this white supremacy will seek to hold on to its script, that ferocity is being demonstrated. But at the same time, that those spiritual energies are bathing our earth, and the shards of light, the shade is going up. You can't stop the shade from going up. It is going up. Just as the shade came down, the shade is now going up, and we can see the light. And there's no turning back. We are moving into a re-spiritualization and consciousness cycle. We are moving into a period of greater enlightenment on our earth. And this material cycle is coming to a close. And this is just the agonizing and the writhing that we're seeing as it comes to a close. Yes, we don't want to be in the way of it. And at times we struggle to get out of harm's way. But we must, the healing work is so important to put that forward, because we must heal ourselves quickly. So, through our traumas, through our pains, those 250,000 African Americans who were left behind when the Bell of Freedom came and had to pick themselves up and with nothing and begin again. We have our work to do, and we want to do it with all deliberate speed, our healing work, so that we can be about healing the planet. All the kingdoms await us. All the kingdoms are, as I have said, the earth reels from the mismanagement, and it awaits our stewardship. And that is what Osirinization in consciousness is when we are conscious as the Neb, the Geb, the Lord that is indwelling our earth. The consciousness that is ensouling our earth. What is that consciousness conscious of? It is conscious of everything that is happening in every kingdom, with within the mineral kingdom, within the vegetable kingdom. It's conscious of all that is happening with the destruction of the rainforest. It's conscious of all the pain that the animals are going through. It's conscious of what's happening in the human kingdom. And so our work is in us, the ascernization of consciousness is to be conscious as our Neb, Lord, Geb. The being and souling our earth is conscious. And that being, and we've talked about this in the great scale of being, there is the consciousness that is ensouling the atom, the consciousness that is ensouling a tree, the consciousness that is ensouling a human, the consciousness that is ensouling our earth. And this is where we're talking about this level of ascernization of consciousness. And that consciousness that is ensouling our earth is not the same level of consciousness that's ensouling our sun, the great solar orb we saw on the horizon this morning when we got up. And that level of consciousness is Hotep family, peace to all, Hotep. So let's be about our work, because that's why we have come. We have come. Says, I am teaching this healing, meditation, and Tai Chi in the streets, homeless encampments, and places where there is hopelessness. Oh, this earth is in good hands. How can we bring this light further to those that need these teachings? We are the carriers to teach our people in despair about this light, as you are teaching us. Beautifully expressed, especially in today's solstice, the upcoming moon. Yes, this is why with all deliberate speed, we must go forward. This is what we have come to do, to be a part of healing our earth, healing ourselves. We have to heal ourselves, all right, because we've had many impacts along the way in these loveless circumstances. We have to heal ourselves, and then we have to be about the business of healing the earth. And so we have to do that work with all deliberate speed so that we may fulfill our life work and service. So be not in despair. It's hard. It's not for the faint of heart, but you've come and your soul has guided you to be here at this time. And you've been in preparation for many lifetimes for this cycle in which we now have arrived. So what I'm going to do is, so this would be for the summer solstice, to pull this up. Pert Timru, going to share my screen. Okay, all right, everyone. So last time we read pages 1 through 5 in the Pert Timru, and so we're going to conclude our Sunday service today with this section of the Pert Timru and continuing. And I'm going to just go back and forth between the Mejanecher and the English, and as always, clean up words that have been taken out of or renamed by these so-called Egyptologists. Okay. So today at the solstice, as in any day, our African ancestors began by saying Dua Ra, Dua, adoration of Ra, by the royal scribe, the captain of soldiers. Next, he says, homage to you, O you glorious being, dowered Tamu Herakuti. So he's saying homage to you, Herakuti, when you rise in the horizon of heaven. Pet int Kut int pet, in the horizon of heaven. A shout of joy to you from the mouth of all peoples. Beautiful one, becoming young at your time, in or as the disk, we talk about the sun as the disk or the aton. Becoming young at that your time, in or as the disk, within the hand of your mother, Het Haru. And we talked about Het Haru earlier as the ruler of the sign of Taurus, or the nature corresponding with Taurus. Rising therefore in place, every heart dilates forever. Just imagine the praise that goes up where our African ancestors are saying that their heart is dilating, it's expanding forever, just at beholding the rising. Talk about what we value. Our African ancestors really valued the rising of the sun because it symbols the same one and the same stellar substance of which we are. Come to you, the two altar with homage. They give a shout of joy at your rising. You rise in the horizon of heaven. You shed upon the two lands emerald light. Ra is Herakuti, the boy mighty, the heir of Hehe, or eternity. He begot and he gave birth to himself. Now see the shifting here. He begot and gave birth to himself. So recognize, family, when we're moving from that local cosmic sun on the horizon, which is the one and the same cosmic egg, the universal egg, the universal Ra or the sun that rose out of the noon. It says he begot and he gave birth to himself. The king of earth, this prince of the underworld, president of the mountains of Ekert. So it's the one and the same stellar substance everywhere, right? Coming forth from the water. This is so beautiful, family. Drawing himself from the noon. So he was just nursing himself. Ra, cosmically nursing himself, increasing his limbs. O God of life, Lord of love, Neb of love, live all peoples, so all people live when you shine. O crowned as the king of the Nteri, make Nut homage to you, embrace you, Ma'at, at every season. Sing to you those who are following you. They bow down upon earth in meeting you. The Neb of Pet, the Lord of heaven, the Neb of earth, Neb Tab, the Nesut of righteousness, Ma'at, the Neb of He of eternity, Hekt, Prince of Jetta, everlastingness, ruler of the gods, of all gods, God of life, God of Unk, maker of eternity, creator of heaven, is established by him that which is within it. The cycle of the gods of the Nteri is in rejoicing at your rising. The earth is in gladness, seeing your rays. Come forth, the ancestors, with cries of joy to see your beauties. Ra Neb, every day to see your beauties. You go forth over heaven in the earth day, every day earth is strengthened of your mother Nut. You traverse the upper regions, and the heart is dilated with joy. The pool of tests become satisfied. Seba, this is the evil one, has fallen. His two hands are hacked off, cut asunder. The knife, his joints. Live Ra in Ma'ah, beautiful, or truth, beautiful. The Sektet boat draws on. It arrives. It arrives in the south, north, west, east to praise you, O substance of the earth, the creator of himself, Ra, the creator of himself. Salute you, Osset and Nebuchadnezzar. They sing songs of joy to you in the boat that their hands are protecting behind you. Follow you, the souls of the east. Praise you, the souls of the west. Thou rule up, and we got to get with that English. You rule Nebu Netru. You rule all gods. You receive expansion of heart within your shrine. Nak, the fiend, is judged by the fire. Your heart is dilated with joy forever. Is decreed your mother Nut to your father Nun. Ashe, Ashe. So I just want to come back here and let me see. So I want to just close today. So let's see. Right. Okay. All right. So Professor Small didn't make it on. All right. We'll keep trying. And let me just see if there's any question imposed. Okay. So we end with those words, family. I'll just come back to here. Stop sharing my screen. So in this glorious summer solstice with the sun at its highest ascent in the sky, let us enjoy these emerald beams of light, this radiant light. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers who father. Bajra says, thank you. And let us continue in our healing work. Let us heal ourselves and let us be about healing our planet and restoring Ma'at on earth. And we say, Onk Uja Seneb, and so it is. Be well. See you next Sunday. Invite guests. Tell others about this Sunday service because we are keeping it real. We're keeping it 100, and we're ready. We ain't playing. We're here to do the work. We're here to do all that we've incarnated to do. This is no dress rehearsal. This is a real thing. And so it's on, and we're ready. Peace.